It's all over in Ohio, very little of it in Virginia. But black oak, it's
Got
kind
white
of,
oak and red oak.
yeah, so black oak, from the outside, it looks like a red oak because it's got the same sculpted leaves, right? But when you cut into it, the sapwood is the color of white oak.
Right.
And the heartwood is dark like walnut.
Yeah.
It always is in black walnut, black oak. It's the one oak that I enjoy turning just because of the contrast, and I only do it natural edge. I never rough out oak anymore. I rarely do I rough out oak anymore just because you get a high percentage of crackers.
I was looking at natural edge, makes you think of walnut.
But, so this is the design we're after, is to get a little flared. Sometimes it can be really accentuated flared wings. It can be modest like these two are. They're really elegant, modest flare. And we're bringing the bark down low. And the bark is a similar amount of bark down low on both sides. So it's symmetrical in that sense. It's just a gorgeous structure. And like I said, they're beautiful to make. They're not that difficult. The whole key is setting it up and balancing it on the lathe. That is the key. And that's what I want to show you.
What do you seal the bark with?
Yeah, so these are all green turned, of course. And I'll be talking about that. I would like to just go ahead and pass this around. This one, the bark's not down quite as dramatically low as these are, but it still gives you that wonderful look. The wings are more accentuated than these two are too. So you can do these in a whole variety of ways and they still look wonderfully elegant. We're going to go ahead and pass that around. This is sugar maple.
Now these are cross pieces, right?
No, it's from a log of a tree.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this. You get a stunning piece without it having to be a burl or a crotch. You get such a wonderful, elegant piece just from a branch. And, it could be it could be the trunk of a tree if it's smallish or biggish. I've seen some.
It's gonna be in the way you mount it, right?
It's just a regular branch from the tree. And that's the beauty of it. You get such gorgeous forms. Everybody that sees these, they go, where'd you find that burl? It's not a burl. It's the bark coming down low. So obviously, through part of this day, Lawrence, the tree, grew up this way. You got the center pith, so it includes the pith. Bark went around. We cut off a little flat section of one edge of the trunk of the tree, or the branch, whatever it is. Lay that on the bandsaw it into a general round bigger than the diameter of the piece. Throw it on the lathe, carve the outside, first grab the tenon, grab the tenon, and then carve out the inside to match. But the whole key is balancing it on your lathe so that as it spins, you get the same amount of bark on each side. And these have to be in the same turning plane so that when you spin it over, they end up at the same height as well. So it's a double balance.
What do you seal the bark with?
Oh, yeah, that question again. Thank you. CA glue. The cambium layer, no, you're good. Thank you. The cambium layer soaks up a lot of super fast thin CA glue, and that's what I use. And the cambium layer, the moisture inside it is also a drying agent for the glue. You rarely do you have to even use an accelerator or anything with it. It just dries. So we'll pass this around. This is for the club. Somebody can stand and finish that. That's the demo piece. Okay. Natural Edge demo box. Natural Edge log. So I want to talk about this for a moment. So to save time, I've got one partially prepared. And so when you look at a log, not all logs like these are round. This is what I had available, so this is what I'm using for the demo. I probably would have preferred to have either a really nice fat oval or a perfectly round one for the demo, but this is what I had. And this one, as you can see, has a flat side on it, right? And so you have to make a decision when you look at a log like this, is how do you want to situate it to balance it on the leg? You can either make it a tallish natural edge form by having it turn this way, but because it's got such a flat side on it, it's going to be hard to match bark down low on both sides. So in this piece, I would prefer to make a lower natural edge bowl with modest wings on it, and use the flat side as the bottom of the bowl. And then I'll have a better chance of getting bark evenly down each side. So you look at a log and a branch and decide what to make of it based on that. So this, I cut right under the edge of that. They're right next to each other. And that's what I did with this one, is I decided to do it more of a lower, wider piece rather than a taller piece. And I think I'm going to end up with
What
nice
kind of
bark.
wood is that?
What kind of wood? Sugar maple. Yeah.
Now, is that an extension of that piece right there?
Yes, it is.
So you basically said.
Yeah, I cut this piece in half and made these two pieces from
And
it,
your
right?
flat side is what, you used the flat side of that.
The flat side that was on that was also the flat side on this,
On the bottom.
which is the bottom. Right. So again, I bandsawed a flat edge, laid it on my bandsaw, put this
Circle cutter.
round disc on it, cut it so that it's bigger, of course, than the diameter of the piece, so that I have bark down low on both sides. And then I like to use, if I can, my drill press and use the chuck. You can have such great strength in holding the piece if you can get it done that way, rather than use a prong drive, right, and jam it up into that. It's less safe to use a prong drive. Using this is far safer because of the gripping power when you expand that into there. Yeah, and because it holds it so much stronger, once you get it trued up, you can turn it at a higher speed. Some of us like that.
At what point do you put the C8?
I put it on after I get the outside shaped the way I want it. Now, so I'm going to leave this a little loose.
Did you use a Forstner bit to drill
Yeah.
a hole?
Yes, I did. 2.5 inch portion of it. So that's lined up. Once I've got that lined up, because it's already been turned, and it was turned based on that being the tail center. Now I'm going to tighten, expand the jaws, number 2 jaws right into that 2.5 inch Forstner bit.
One question about that.
Yeah.
When you just turned that, it was those bark inclusions? Why didn't it take all the bark off when you turned it around like that?
So that, of course, is what I'm about to explain.
Wonderful. I'll be listening right here.
Yeah, you are so smart. As I mentioned with that piece, so when I was setting this piece up, you saw how I aligned it right here. I had already balanced the piece on the lathe a little bit, decided what was equidistant from with the proper balance, and then tightened it up and turned it, and I think we're in good shape. But how to set that up? When you first say you've done your drill press and you put it onto your chuck, don't expand your chuck. Don't tighten your chuck yet. You have a little extra material back here, and so what you're doing is you're measuring. Do we have the top down?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what you're doing is, first of all, you want to get the wings in the same turning plane. And these are close. They don't have to be exact, but very close. And this is close. I'm probably about at least 3/16 of an inch off, maybe almost 1/4 of an inch off, in terms of height of the wings. But what I did notice is this wing goes straight in, and this one that's a little higher up goes down. So as I shrink this down to get rid of this area here, this is gonna come closer in line to matching this side. So I align that first before tightening this. Then your second balance is the distance of each side of the bark from the tool rest. You want to even that out. And so when I first put this on, I think this side was a little bit closer to the tool rest. And you can do that, you can hold a ruler here. I just, put my finger here. I like that. But originally it wasn't quite that close. And so since this is loose, you can loosen your tailstock. You can pull it over, tighten it up a little bit, and then remeasure, right? And if you still need to make adjustment, loosen it again, pull it over a little bit more, retighten it, and until you get this bark down low, equidistant from the tool rest. So that's the second balancing you do. First you balance the wings up high, then you balance the bark on each side to make it equidistant from your tool rest. That's the whole key. Once you've established that, now you have the opportunity to turn a piece and get the bark down low on a natural edge wing form. And I just can't emphasize enough how much people love this form. And I love the fact that it doesn't have to be a burl or a crotch. It can be any branch from any tree, and you can make something as beautiful as this. I think that's fantastic. And you can charge a little more money for it too. You get the bark down low, and you got elegant wings. It's turned at not too fat, right? And they're just marvelous forms. So I'm going to turn a little bit.
How about your pith cracking or splitting?
So the pith is included. Even though I didn't even put
Yeah, I
shade
see
glue.
it's got a little inclusion.
I did this, I shaped these a couple days ago, and I'm still not getting any cracks, major cracks, which is really wonderful. Sugar maple is probably, in my opinion, of the major American woods, the more stable of the woods. Whether you turn a crotchwood or you turn a natural edge piece like this that includes the pith, you're going to have better luck with sugar maple than you will, I think, with most of the other woods. And plus, it's gorgeous wood. The contrast of the dark bark with the light wood is a beautiful thing. So I'm going to go ahead and shape this better now, finish shaping this, and with what little time we'll have left, I just want to reverse it and show you a few basic cuts to hollow out the inside. How much time do we have, by the way?
About an hour.
We have almost an hour? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Could I get one more water? My throat's getting dry. Thank you.
So the jaws are not tight on that end?
I thought I tightened it, but let me just tighten them.
After you
Good,
find
it's
it-
always, yep, they're tight, but let me, yep, always, I
In other
did
words,
tighten.
after you find your center, you tighten them up.
After you get it perfectly balanced, then you tighten up the jaws onto the piece, and you firm up your lockdown on your revolving tail center. One of the other little tips when you're turning green wood, thank you, Dave. One of the other tips when you're turning green wood that I do, especially since a couple of you wonderful gentlemen cleaned the bed of this lathe, just lay a towel over here. This is wet wood. It appears pretty dry right here. It's been a couple days out, but the inside is still pretty wet. So we're probably going to get a nice spray here, and the lathe bed would get soaked. But just laying a towel down there actually really helped your lathe bed from getting soaked and less cleaning afterwards. So I'll lay a little towel, hand towel down there. Get a fresh tool. I always like to bring a quiver of tools so I don't have to sharpen during the demo. Okay. I forgot to reverse a couple of these. Fresh tool.
light up just a little bit.
Up
Yeah. It's kind of shining toward us.
over the light.
Yeah, there you go.
How many of you do natural edge?
Haven't in a while.
I've done some.
You know, I don't think another form shows off the inherent natural beauty
Yes.
of trees than a natural edge bulb. And I enjoy doing that. When I do a substantially large one, like the one that just sold last week for 1,800, it was massive. And you know, I'll start early in the morning. You know, I'll turn, my wife will come down, bring me a sandwich. I hardly take a break. And I don't stop until it's finished, the turning part of it, because it's wet wood. Let's say I finish the outside and only half of the inside and I'm dog tired, you know, it's, on a real big massive piece, it takes a while. You know, it takes a while just to get it set up, and then you start turning it. Anyway, by the time dinner comes around, I'm still carving out the inside. So when I've got to reverse and I'm carving out the inside, say I'm only halfway done, I can't stop. Because at that point, you're so thin up here and you're so thick down here that it will crack badly overnight. And you just destroyed a day's work. So you have to, with a natural edge piece, start small and complete the turning part of it in a single turning. I think that's important to try and do that. Don't turn the outside, come back the next day and finish the outside, right? Here it's not quite finished. I still have some turning to do, so it's kind of okay to leave it. But you wouldn't want to, like I said, turn half of the inside and leave the half thick and come back a day later. You probably aren't going to have success. So yeah, it's a full day commitment often to do especially a larger natural edge piece. So that it's nicely balanced because I already did that. You don't have to sit through me chewing up a piece, and but you understand the balancing of it now, and that is the ultimate key. And now it's just a matter of getting the shape you want while still leaving as much bark as you can, as you know, down low on each side. Okay.
Mike,
Yes.
if you happen to in the balance and be just a little bit off on that, the chuck on the other end,
Mm-hmm.
aren't you gonna have to go back and true that lest you, when you turn the
You
inside?
can. Yeah, as you advance, you still have the opportunity to loosen this and readjust this and re-true it up. You can always do that. I've done that a number of times. That's an excellent question.
But you do have to true it before you turn it over, or else you're just gonna be out of whack.
Well, once you get it rebalanced, you know, say you made some cuts and you're realizing, well, okay, one side is beginning to disappear, right? So you have to make an adjustment. So you loosen your chuck, you make your adjustment, and then it's going to be out of balance. So you have to true it up. But it's okay because you've made the adjustment and you're not going to be taking away the side that you don't want to take away from because you brought the other side closer.
My point is on the tenon itself, that's gonna have to be flat 90 degrees to your
Yeah,
or else when you turn it, it's gonna be on a different cant than it was than you're turning at this point.
Yeah, you have to deal with this little nub if you've got one. That's why the very first time you balance it, you want to do the very best job you can when you initially set it up before you start turning and creating the tenon. The very first time you balance it, you want to do the best job you can. Hopefully you've done a good enough job that you don't have to alter it more as you turn it. But if you need to, you can. And I have many times, if the nub is short enough, you just moved it over 1/8 of an inch and you're only on maybe half the nub. But that's okay, because of this type of pointed cone center grabs it well enough to hold it stably. So I haven't had issues with that. Mhm. So bring your tool rest in. About too bad. And moderate speed to begin with. Yeah, about 2,000. No. I got about 1100, but you can turn it over the speed you're comfortable with. The tool is about doing quick cuts. Your cuts all up at the top wings, you want to cut from the top down, because you're pressing the tool into the bark, and you're not trying to push it off and pull the bark off the wood, right? So you want to go to the top part and addressing from left to right, and you want to take small cuts. With natural edge, you always have a tendency of the cambium layer getting tear out. So the higher the speed and the sharper the tool, you can minimize cambium layer tear out. Everything else cuts pretty nice. And this is, make it slowly. This is the type of training where you want to be efficient, but not overly aggressive. You want to take small cuts, because you're dealing with the cambium there, that has a tendency to tear out. So I'm not trying to take away too much material. I can make really, really thick cuts on this easy, because it's wet wood. Now it's a matter of figuring out the shape that you want and trying to leave a fair amount of bark. So let's just stop it for a second and see how the bark is looking. We still have a nice fair amount of bark. And I think I'm going to bring this in at this section here. I'm going to create a little bit deeper coat. And bring this in a little bit tighter up here. And I'm not going to go a whole lot, I'm not going to take off a whole lot more material from here down. I'll bring this in maybe a little bit tighter, but not a whole lot tighter on each side. But I think, you know, this log was far from being perfectly shaped. And so getting the kind of bark that I have here, I'm happy with. I'm not going to make another fine-tuned adjustment here. It's a little less bark on this side and this side ultimately. It won't be that much, it'll make that much of a difference. Okay. And let me just take a look too at the wings here. I didn't really cut that much off the top. I'm going to make another interior cut right here. Very slow, smooth movement up at the top of the wing. So you make a couple of cuts, take a look at it. And I'm bringing this, by making these cuts up here a little bit as well, I'm bringing down this part of the wing to match the other side. So it's coming together nicely. And I've almost eliminated this
Saw mark.
This saw, yeah, that's a chainsaw mark. I do want to get rid of that. And so as I get rid of this, I'm always concerned, am I getting rid of too much bark? But that's okay. I'm still going to end up with, I think, a nice amount of bark down low. It may not be as wide, but that's still going to be fine. Is that light okay? Benjamin Franklin said, "He who has patience can have what he read." So, you know, when you have a structured mind, yeah, just take your time and get the shape that you're after. And I'm liking that a lot. It's looking good. Now, I need to go about it, you know, at least a 16th or almost an eighth of an inch deeper to get rid of that saw mark there. I'm going to go ahead and do that. In one of the classes I taught natural edge out up in DC area for a couple of tenors, we did natural edge, and I had an individual band saw, did the initial band sawing of these logs. And on one of them, we band sawed a certain side too tight. And so we turned it, and rather than turn away that flat area, we left it there, and it became a hole when we called that the inside. And actually it was an accent piece that was really new. So it worked out just fine. Somebody my friend Tessa? With my typewriter printer? I don't know if I got enough. I don't know if that's there. Well, let's take a look at this and see where we're at. Just a touch left down here, and we're going to be fine. We're still going to have a nice, elegant amount of bark down low, and it'll be really solid on the interior too, because on the inside we'll get to the bark level only where it's fattest, and maybe not at all from the inside, which is great. So that's got a really interesting, very, very nice look. I like it a lot.
Is that a tree limb or right there facing you? It almost looks like two piths right there.
What's that?
On the, flip it back right there. It looks like two piths right there. Go back to you.
It's
Or was it a limb, tree limb?
right here?
No, on the other side.
Here?
The other side. Right there.
Here or here?
Right there where your hand was.
This?
Right here and there. There's a pith. Let's see, was that a limb or a pith? there?
Okay, yeah, so there's actually two branches coming out of this side, and here they are. It's like almost a triple pith there.
Bullseye.
But this was in the center of a branch. This isn't
Where it kind of bared off.
yeah, it's just a weird part of this huge branch that came off this massive sugar maple tree.
Mike,
It's not a crotch. Yes.
at what point, when you go down in there, you go back up to the widest circumference, you're cutting uphill.
Yeah.
At what, or do you ever, I mean, does that get deep enough to where you gotta come downhill to get to it, rather than you making one continuous cut? Right?
Yes, quite often if I do some pieces where the wings are really dramatic. They stick out real far and in tight,
Yeah,
and then I will come from both directions.
downhill. Yeah.
I'll come downhill from the meat and downhill from this side,
Right.
and hit that apex together.
But
This one is such a
Acceptable to go
gentle, it's
all
a
the
gentle curve for me, and I can keep a nice flow and just angle my body. It's just enough room in here, and it's such a gentle curve that I can just keep it going. I have good enough lathe speed, sharp enough tool, that I can go back uphill without any problem.
And are
in
you
terms of-
still at 1100 about?
Yeah. Mhm. I could easily, if I was at my shop, I'd be kicking this up at least to 1500.
I'm still, I can't get over how we leave it bark. where when you put the log on, if you were rounding it up, beginning to shape it, how are we still getting that much bark out there with it on the sides?
It's just the nature of the shape
I
of.
know how when you balance it and you tipped it a little bit
Mhm.
to bring it down low, but as you're shaping, it wasn't a perfectly round log, obviously.
Right.
It-
But I did, the worst part of the log that was least round was that flat section that is now at the bottom of the bowl.
Right, okay.
So I had a better chance of balancing bark on each side because of the way I positioned the log.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's turning out quite nice. That's gonna be a beautiful piece for you guys. Somebody's gonna have to finish the inside of it, but.
Never tried
but
one like that.
This
but
is
I
your
can do
piece.
it with bark inclusions. Pretty easy.
With this piece finished,
Yeah.
at my gallery, this would be a $500,
Yeah.
piece at my
Absolutely.
gallery, no problem. Yeah,
And my gallery, $50.
yeah.
Mike,
For that
What?
$10.
is
Your
that,
gallery giveaway.
is that dogwood or is it a
Come
lot
on,
of
boy, to somebody. That's
And
right.
this is sugar maple. I'm sorry,
You
bark? I
get
said,
it?
is it dogwood
It's a
or has
joke.
a lot of bark?
oh, yeah, thank you, cute.
You say a new joke book.
Somebody's got some plan of can I use that, a future demo? All right. Hopefully one more thing checklist. This is where I need to come down.
Mike, I assume you've got the handle down to a shear cut and not a scraping cut?
It's a push cut. So it's neither a shear nor a scrape. It's quite aggressively open. So this is a push cut,
We can't
and
see
it's not very well closed. Push cut. A scraping cut would be like this,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And a shear cut would be like this. This is a very, once I'm in, right, I open up the tool, and it's open big. I mean, instead of at 2 o'clock, I'm definitely more like 1 o'clock.
But your handle is almost flat then, it's not.
The handle is close to horizontal.
Yeah,
And then, of course, the handle does not dictate whether it's a push or a scrape. If you're trying to do a shear type motion, then the handle dictates. Yeah, if the handle's up high, it's more of a scrape, and handle down low is shear. But when I push cut, you can have the handle high or low, it's still a push cut.
but you're cutting about 11 o'clock on
If you have an imaginary flute out of the plane, it's more, right now, it's more like 1 o'clock.
But you are riding the bevel a little bit on the
Oh,
wing.
yeah,
On the wing.
I'm very close to riding the bevel. You never want to bring the toe off of the heel. You don't want to push the heel into the wood and it pulls the toe off, right? So you'd want to get the bevel in line with your wood. If you can practice that when you're making cuts, is just keep the bevel in line with the direction you're cutting the wood, that you want to shape the wood. You're going to have so much more success. You can see these wonderful cuts. I mean, you can start this easily with 150. Probably most of this you could probably start possibly with 220, but certainly with 150. You make just beautiful cuts like that. And if you can avoid even a single gouge line, like this is pretty dang good.
Is that just cracked?
Yeah, the pith has a crack in it. So now that I'm almost done with my shape, the first thing I'm going to do is add CA glue to the pith, the cambium layer. That's the next step. Flip it around, and we start hollowing out the inside. But I'm real pleased with the shape. It looks to me like we got rid of that saw mark. I think the shape is wonderful. We have bark. Interesting bark, not a massive amount of it, but an interesting amount of bark down low on both sides. And that's what we're after. I would be less concerned about the mass of bark and really focus on having some level of bark down low, because that's what adds the interest, whether it's massive or not. Bringing bark down low equally on both sides, or close to equally, is what the goal is. Have an elegant wing structure. It doesn't have to be overly aggressive, but just an elegant wing structure and bark down low. That combination, I think, is one of the most beautiful forms in all of wood turning.
I understand why you would CA maybe the cracks and things, but what's the purpose of CAing the cambium layer?
The cambium layer, that's a great question. And it's important to put super fast thin glue in the cambium layer. And the reason is the cambium layer is the softest tissue in the entire tree. Sometimes the bark can be considered tough, but it's a hard, brittle soft. Cambium layer is in the wet stage, is really delicate. And it doesn't have much structure to support it. As it dries, it shrinks,
New skin just shrinks.
right? And in some woods, it shrinks massively. And then you'll end up with a different plane at the cambium layer than both the actual bark and the heartwood.
So the glue strengthens that layer?
The glue not only holds the cambium layer and bark onto the main structure, but it also fills the void that would be created from drying.
So it keeps it from...
It keeps it from over shrinking. Yeah, yeah. And so I have just a ever so slightly raised area right here. I just want to smooth that out a touch.
Before you turn that on, I have a question.
Yes.
It sounds like what it looks like to me is that you're doing a final or you're doing a finish cut on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, yeah, good. That's a beautiful question.
So my question is,
comment.
so you're doing the finish cut when you put the CA glue on there, come back and finish that final. Is that your final cut?
This is my final cut before I add the CA glue.
And then you come back with just take off a little shade.
Once the glue is dried and on it, I don't worry about it until I finish the inside, and then after the inside is done, then I, because it'll be reversed, and I'm carving out the inside, then I'll CA glue the inside, and then I sand both sides at the same time. The sanding gets rid of the CA glue off on the outside.
And you're basically finishing this dry, wet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and you get it to a nice thinness, it dries as you're sanding. There's so little material left in there that the heat from the sanding just dries it. You're sanding both sides, and your piece is dry when you're done sanding.
When it's that thin, does the glue penetrate the cambium layer since it's so thin from the inside out?
No, well, first of course I've added CA glue while the piece is full, solid,
Right.
and so it's only going to go in so far anyway. But it does, the CA glue does fill enough of the cambium layer from the outside first that before you start turning the inside, the outside is nice and hard.
But when you hollow out the inside, you put more CA glue
Yes.
on the cambium layer there.
That doesn't come through because you've already sealed it from the outside.
But does it penetrate deep enough in there too?
Oh yeah, yeah. It won't penetrate. I mean, it doesn't have far to penetrate anyway, and we've already put CA glue on the outside, so you can apply less CA glue.
So the outside is penetrated almost to after the inside is hollowed. From the previous,
Yeah.
it's already down.
It's fairly solid already. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mike, do you worry about the stain of the CA glue?
No. Some woods you do, like a soft maple, you really worry about that. A hard maple, for some reason, you can see I put a pretty fair amount of CA glue here, where this crack is. By the time you're done sanding, it doesn't stain. A soft maple is gonna show the stain.
Okay.
A hard maple, it's like 40% harder. For some reason, the grains, and I've had great success. You can slobber CA glue on this thing, make all, but you can spill a bottle by mistake on it if you needed to, and sand it off, and it's like, whoa, how'd that happen? It's clean, yeah.
Would you use a medium or a thick on that crack? Or thin?
I'll start with super thin fast, follow it up with medium, a medium thin, because I want to get good
You want it
saturation.
penetrated, right?
I want to get good saturation. I don't want this to come apart when I'm done. Yeah.
So now you use the CA glue on the bark and the pith.
On the cambium layer,
What's the camden layer?
okay, so you've got the bark,
Yes, sir.
the rough bark.
Can you turn it my way a little bit? Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so you've got the rough bark here, this darker brown, and this little bit lighter but still darker brown, that's the cut part of the bark. This light tan color is the cambium layer. That holds the bark to the heartwood.
Okay.
And in maple, you don't really get a true sap color layer. It just looks
Now, is
like.
this something that you wipe, the glue you wipe on, or?
I'll show you, yeah, yeah. Let me do one last cut here, and then I'll add the CA glue, and we'll reverse it. Unless you're really, really careful with a shear cut, I wouldn't recommend it, but I'll show you that you can do a shear cut with the bark area and still be successful. But you want to try and make very, very clean cuts with your push cut, because if you're not very careful with your shear cut, you can disturb that cambium layer. And right now the cambium layer is cut very, very nicely. So I just kicked up the speed. I'm at 1300 now, a little over 1390. Very soft touch with the very soft touch. Because you have to be careful that that cambium layer isn't just really disturbed and very nice. I had just a little bit of a rise right there, I think. I still have just a touch of a rise in this one spot right about there. So let me work on that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. We can go to sanding from that point. Okay, so I want to just ever so slightly bring this in here at the bottom so that this matches a little bit better at the very end. And you really can calculate either direction, but again, I have good speed and track tool. So I'm just cutting the wrong direction. I'm not that concerned about it. And when you slow your tool movement down too, there we go. When you're cutting in the wrong direction, like that, you can avoid tear-outs, and that's a pretty clean cut. I like that a lot. So I'm really happy with the overall shape. I think it's got a nice, elegant look to it. And add CA glue, reverse it. I'll probably give a little true up on the tenon. I'll make sure that's true since it's sat for 2 days. And so CA glue. There we go. So super thin fast. See that, those lay bed rails are still pristine clean now. They're not wet and they're not getting soaked in with the, you know, the sap and the juices from the tree. So this bed's gonna be in real nice order just by laying a simple towel down. So you can see that soaking in. This is super thin fast first. And whatever the length of the pith crack is, I'll do a circle. CA glue the diameter of the circle. And I don't care if a little bit runs off because like I said, I've had really good success not staining sugar maple with, at least with this particular CA glue. I will lose. Okay. And if you see any other trouble spots, this crack is a little bit bigger.
Have you found any differences in the manufactured CA glues, or are they all the same?
I can't tell you, they're all the same when I first, that's all I've been using ever since, so I don't know if there's anything any better than this. This is Starbond.
Starbond is good. It doesn't have the smell as the other.
They have a super thin fast that's odorless.
Yeah.
I don't, this may not be that one.
Parsons tree, yeah.
Anybody else have a question? So this one had a pretty long little crack here, but we'll stabilize that.
Would you have tried to fill the crack with the sawdust or just use it as a
Yeah, both.
natural?
Both. You want to fill it and surround it. And here's a little pith here. We'll just put a little bit right there. A little branch came through there. Since this is not cambium layer, it needs a little accelerator to dry. So that was super fast thin. This is medium thin. I'll go back over just the crack area and try and fill in the crack area now with the medium. Carefully, try not to get too much. Not that it won't hurt it to get more on it. Just don't want to waste it. So that's pretty good. And I'll put just a touch right here. And that's all it takes in those areas. Now, we go back to the super thin fast. And I'll get in there.
William's in there for good now.
Well, do that later. And then you just do the best you can. You know, it's okay to get the super thin fast glue on the cut area of the actual bark, but you don't want to get the CA glue on the rough, natural area of the bark. In fact, it's actually a good thing to get a little bit up here on the cut area. But you can see how the cambium layer is just soaking it in, right? See, it's just soaking it right in. Just be very careful.
What's wrong by getting it in the rough area?
Well, the CA glue, if you get it into the natural rough area, you can't get it out. You know, if it's on the, when we're done hollowing out the inside, you're going to end up with a little layer of that rough bark visible. And if you got CA glue on it, it's not going to look natural. It's going to look shiny. No, I don't like that. But you put CA glue on the cambium layer on the cut area of the bark, by the time you're done sanding, you never knew you put CA glue on it, because CA glue does sand away. So yeah, avoid getting CA glue on the uncut bark area. You will not like it. And if you like it, fine, but you try and sell it, your customers won't like it. So, see, I put some on the cut area of the bark, and that's fine. You just got to be careful not to get it on the uncut dark bark area. Yeah, that cambium layer is just soaking it right up. So you just take your time, go around the whole piece. You know, you don't have to oversaturate it. And if you have time, it doesn't hurt to go around it one more time. You'll be surprised that it'll continue to soak it up some more. So this is all cut, mostly cut bark.
What do you do about bark that's, the natural bark that's loose?
The natural bark that's loose,
Yeah, you go ahead and take it off, or?
well, this doesn't, of course, this piece doesn't have any of that. But if you have a piece that where the natural bark is loose, I probably, personally, that's not what I'm after. So I probably, first of all, I try to analyze the piece. If it's a freshly down tree, the bark's going to be stable, especially if it's harvested in the winter. And I have great success with whether it's harvested in summer or winter, if it's turned right away. But if you're giving it a little bit of time, a month or so before you turn it, like I did with this piece, it's actually, sugar maple is one of your better hopes. First of all. Second of all, the sooner you turn it, of course, in the winter, in the winter, the bark holds better because the sap isn't running. And did you notice that I come in normally, right, with the tool fairly open? Can you hear me?
With the tooth and the shield, it's tough.
Let me just do it this way.
Now
A final little point when you're trying to make a nice tenon. You know, obviously the tool is spiraling down the wood. When you get into that perpendicular corner, just hold your tool for a split second without advancing it forward, then pull it out. What that does is it gives the piece to have a full 360 rotation with the tool in that place. So then you end up with what I call a perfect tenon. It's both sides of the piece are in the same turning plane. We'll go a little bigger chuck to hold the size of tenon that I made there. I use, you know, there's so many good chucks out there. I happen to really like the one-ways. I'm used to them too, and they work well for me, so that's what I use. Okay. So push it in nice and hard, make sure it's evenly seated in your chuck. Tighten it up. Dave, if you could remove the tailstock for me, that'd be awesome. Got the CA glue in the most important areas.
Yeah, I think it's the one that's got little lines.
So you want to bring your tool rest in close, spin the wood, make sure you're hitting the touch right there. There we go. Make sure you're getting 360 clearance. I'm still a touch higher on this wing, but not so much that it's a big deal. Tool rest slightly below center. And we will change the tool rest location as we advance. And this will cover a portion of the lathe. I have bigger towels for at home for this. I'm going to go ahead and use up these and not worry about a final cut. So as we get down inside, I'm going to grab a tool that I can extend the cutting tool out further. But for right now, I'm not really concerned about it. And so it's not absolutely perfect, but it's very, very, very close to being true. And I'm okay with that. I am going to put this on for the initial cutting. So I'm going to try and be a little bit aggressive here. And I'm at Craig, sorry about the sound. Are we okay? Sugar made for this is hard making. Okay, so let's get rid of this a little bit. Okay. Thank you.
Mike,
Yeah.
I noticed that you started from the center and worked out. Wouldn't there be more support on the wings if you started from the outside in, or why do you go from inside out?
There's so much mass in this piece still. I don't need to do that at this point. You start to do more of that kind of thing as I get down into the piece. So there's so much mass here that for me, it's just makes more sense to.
What about a smaller piece? Would you then go from the outside in?
Well, what I like to do when I make my final wing cut, which I'm about to do, I want to get this a little thinner. I like to have this all gone so I can make a nice steady cut all the way below this point. So I like to, my initial strategy with this is just to get away all this material so I can focus on making this really clean cut here. And that's what I'm going to do now. And you just have to decide how thick you're comfortable, or how thin you're comfortable making the wings. And I'm comfortable making them relatively thin. And this is a point where I want to pull out a fresh tool. So we're bringing our tool rest to compensate now for how deep we're going.
Mike, do you find the curved tool rests more efficient than the straight?
Not necessarily. No.
You use a straight?
For the most part, I use a straight one all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Rarely. Now, when I do a big, massive one of these, like the one that sells for $1,500 to $2,500, they're much bigger and deeper. There's a tool rest made by a guy in Virginia, terrific turner. It goes up and then has a bar that extends down in, and then it has a little tool rest attached to it. So you can get down into the bottom of one of these bowls and finish the bottom beautifully with a particular tool rest. I should have brought one to show it to you. Tom Zapata, if you want to remember that name. Look at Tom Zapata's website.
With a Z?
Zapata with a Z, yeah. Yeah, he's got a fabulous tool rest. He does them in, I think, in 2 or 3 different sizes.
Is he online someplace that you could?
I think you can go to, just look, yeah, just Google Tom Zapata.
Spell it, you know, I spell his last name.
We gotta keep turning, fellas. We're getting really tight on time. Okay, sorry. I'm here to push a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Not you, Mike.
Thank you, man.
Not you. Everybody else.
So you can see the entrance is very slow and patient. Because we don't want to be aggressive at this part of the way. And you really embarrassed. And then you super aggressive. So you can see we're beginning, we have a nice thickness here. I'm not going to go any thinner on this piece because I'm going to be turning this over to the glove to finish the inside because we're running out of time. But I want to show you a cut. I'm going to make a couple of cuts right here, and I want to show you a cut. If you happen to make the wings where they come in tighter and you have a sharper angle coming back out inside the bowl here, I'm going to show you a cut that allows you, instead of a push cut, to reach over a little bit further and make that happen without going to a hollowing tool.
Been there time?
Too much pressure? Was that you?
Cut it off. There's still power to it, or?
Yeah, it's not right on. It's just, I think I applied too much pressure to it.
2 horsepower?
Got to turn it off and on?
Yeah, that's probably supply service. Nothing order.
Has it got a trigger switch? You want to turn it on.
Got to reset. Here's something, there it goes, it just came back one on this side, the lights.
Well,
He's making bigger chips than what he's supposed to be doing.
So you need a 3 horsepower leg, not 2.
You're gonna tell us when you get to that special cut.
yeah, we're coming right up.
You missed it, Pat.
Well, I thought when it was special to stop the lathe.
Would you
Yeah,
push it
that
that
was
hard
it.
at home?
Oh, yeah. Always. Yeah.
It's raining.
You know, that area there where the cuts aren't critical, I'm just blow through it, right? You know, that's how I turn it home. So this is what I want to show you. If you happen, this piece has a gentle curve, so it's not necessary. I can do the whole thing with a push cut. But if you have a piece, again, that comes in tighter at the wings, comes in tighter, and it has a quicker back out inside of here, this is the cut I want to show you. So again, instead of doing a quick cut, because you can only go so far with the tool on a push cut before you start hitting the wings. If you reverse it into the shear position, you can push and pull. And look, so here, I'm at maxed out there, but when you reverse it, all of a sudden you've increased it by an inch or two, you've got more space. So you can actually reach further, pushing and pulling, and getting more material away this way, right? So a push cut is this direction, and a shear
And pull.
push and pull is this direction. And you're using mostly the tip down in here. And anyway, you can reach in a lot tighter angle without having to revert to a hollowing tool in that situation. Let me just make a few cutting examples of that. So it's like this. So you can reach a lot tighter space. See how that works?
Yeah.
That gives you another couple inches of swing, and you can reach down in there. So I'm just going to clean this spot up here. I'm going to stop. I'm going to answer any final questions you might have. And we'll give this piece to somebody who's going to need to finish it relatively soon, because there's still some mass down here at the bottom.